let's be reflected on the screens, because what Iran does and what Iran cannot do. Now, there were two statements. Of those two statements, I think one of them was very strange for me. Çağlar Hoca will also find it strange. Iran, commander of the naval forces. So he's saying one thing. KJ friends underneath. 9 minutes for KJ, please. He says we, including America, threaten anyone who threatens us. Let him know very well that we are not afraid of threats. We are neither afraid of threats nor afraid of death, because we embrace death, because we will meet with martyrs, because we will reach a higher realm. You know, killing a Muslim, saying, I will kill you, is not a threat. He says, so far so good. Then he says that we have such missiles that even we don't know exactly how far their range is. Can such a thing happen? Let's ask him. I said I have such missiles, I'll do it very badly. From the commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, there is a statement. No one, he says, can escape by attacking us. In fact, we're going to take them all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. Even if we have to chase him, we'll do it. Does he have that kind of military power? Can he fight back? We will remind this. Already in early April, there was an attack on the consulate in Damascus, Syria. 2 senior members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps were killed. Iran then said, this is declaring war on me, I am responding. It sent 3,000 drones, missiles, and so on. It couldn't hit anywhere. But it was said that it was just an act of disregard to avoid starting a war. Look, I have the ability to send these to you. I've sent you empty headlines. I'll send you full headlines. I'll smoke you out. That Iran was a threat. What do you think? Can Iran really do what it says? Threat of military response? Debtor Trump?
Mr. Donlam, when we look at the capabilities of the Iranian army, the Iranian armed forces, he says missiles that you don't know the range of, but in the current inventory, especially the Shahab-Y-2, the 3 missiles are ballistic missiles with a very serious range. In fact, let me put it in a simpler way. There are missiles known to be in the inventory that have a range of up to Greece in the west and up to China in the east. However, let's go as far as the Gulf of Mexico, for example. So now you have to look at it like this. The most trained, most effective weapon is called trained soldiers. Now Iran's army has these weapons and equipment, as far as we know, Shahab missiles. The important Shahab, and they also produce Shahid IHAs.
Yes, it is.
They are also improving their capabilities, their defense capabilities. However, it is necessary to see this. One of the elements of national power is military power, fine and good. But this is what you have just so eloquently stated, that for a year now, Iran's military has been tested, especially its air defense capabilities. And another step, Mr. Teaser, last year, Iran's willingness to continue the war was tested. Unfortunately, Iran failed both of these tests. In other words, you may have very good means and capabilities, but you don't have the ability to show the same determination.
Yes.
Now, Iran could not do this because of the following. Let me express that as well. Iran has become an increasingly isolated power in the region thanks to its foreign policy based on wrong theology. As a result, it is still a power. In particular, Iran, which sees Turkey as a rival to itself, which is very important for us, as you mentioned, by supporting terrorism, which is very important for us, which is of vital importance, but also aims to start its defense from Syria outside the geography where it is located, has experienced a serious loss of power in the last year, has been expelled from Syria, and as a result of the wars it has waged against Israel, it has become a country that cannot show the reaction expected from its own free weight. Now, while this is the case, the sentences put forward by the Iranian commanders sounded like what Mr. Ambassador had just said, with irony. I apologize, but these are obviously not acceptable sentences. I mean, chasing them to the Gulf of Mexico, these are sentences that professional soldiers who see real politics, strategy, and the field should not express. There is a reality. Iran has power, but their will to use it is weak. Iran is troubled right now. It is troubled like this. Look, Iran has been making serious alliances with China and Russia in the last year. This is already the basis of alliances. It is done to belong to each other, to develop your power, to put your back on something solid, to use the term of the laborers. Iran alone does not have such a strong profile that it can look at the world in terms of the range of the weapons mentioned earlier. It may have the means. As I said, when you look at the Shah's fuses and other fuses registered in the inventory, they may have the range of those
You're
weapons.
saying that Shalar Hoja does indeed have these?
There is, but he can't use it. It
Does not understand.
I mean, I don't think he will have the will to use it. Why can't he use it? Look.
You say, because it will pay off.
Yes, of course. Let's go back to April last year, April 2024. When Israel struck, it had the ability to use these weapons within the framework of the 51st article of the United Nations. So it could have used them very easily. Because apart from the military structure, geostrategic and geopolitical positions also affect whether you can use these weapons or not. Iran was not in a position to do that. And since it couldn't do it, it sees an Iran that is closing inwards more and more. An Iran that is gradually closing in, but only against the outside world. I will do it in a dry way. I will come, let's go all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. Why? As much as Trump is implementing a policy of maximum pressure,
maximum threat,
I think Iran is expressing these sentences because it has to show these discourses in order not to fall under this policy.
Okay, you can take 11, friends. Mr. Ersham now. Then what you call deterrence is power. Intent is, of course, also important for the power to be a deterrent. When we look at it like this, what Shalar Hoja said is important. Do they really have this? If not, Shalar Hoja on April 13th, 14th, this retaliation was carried out, but it didn't hit anywhere. There was criticism that it hit chicken coops or something like that. Israel even made fun of him. Likewise, there were criticisms about the old soldiers who died, who passed away, who died in the helicopter that crashed. The Iranian foreign minister also mocked Israel. I mean, I don't think Israel... He told them that he did not have the intention or the courage to actually attack Iran. He even laughed at the time. He said it was drones. He laughed. These are child's play, he said. And in return, Israel mocked him in the same way. It is already a little paper, and he made videos making fun of airplanes and stuff like that. But you say he can do it if he wants to. He can do it if he wants to.
Once again, yes. Iran has its own Shahab series of missiles. Shahab 1, 2, 3. These are long gasoline ballistic missiles with increasing range. These are very effective weapons. Iran is showing this. Iran has this. But it did not use it because it was not in a position to use it.
During this tension with Israel, he fired a missile and hit Idlib. What about Idlib? He hit Erbil. What does Erbil have to do with it?
Iran has such capabilities. Iran has such capabilities in a non-combat vehicle. It has a capability that cannot be thrown at me.
It has the capability, but it can't use it. What are you saying, Mr. Ersham? I mean that deterrence, in order for it to manifest itself, for deterrence to deter, there must also be an intention. Mr. Uzer says it cannot be used. Do you think both sides know their own limits here? Will this suddenly ignite a disastrous process leading to a terrible Third World War?
Now, first of all, after underlining a few points, what Mr. Commander Karaleker said is already very clear. So this is the truth itself. Now, after I have said these 2 or 3 points, perhaps underlining them, it is necessary to see whether they are hearsay or fact. Now, it's not just about... It is also useful to look not only at the Iranian side, but also at the Israeli side and see how they are doing. Now, under normal circumstances, Iran, he gave his UAVs and UCAVs to Russia. And there he struck through Russia in return, but in a very interesting way. When the Israeli planes went on the offensive, it is stated and asserted that Russians are the most modern. They gave their radar systems to Iran. And here, after coming up to around 80 kilometers, it catches them and puts them in a position to respond to things here and so on. Therefore, the Russians have entered into a give and take over Russia from there, and they have also entered into such a give and take over Russia in Iran. So Israel is actually in the air that America has given, and he needs airplanes to replenish his gasoline. You know the Americans will send them right now.
Yes, yes,
And
yes. They've
15
also
years
sent
in
the butlers.
numbers.
That's right,
Yes,
that's right.
because it shows one thing. When you take the airplane up, when you look at the distances, you can go, hit, stay in the air, and then return in one step without anything happening. This is also not possible. Now, with these conditions, when Israeli planes went to bomb Iran, they failed to hit targets. Yeah, they shot them from a distance, just a few, whichever ones they could hit. They came back without any major casualties. Let's not forget that. But there is a second thing in this context. In Perel Beker, Iran has been hit twice, not once, but twice. Missile systems. And in doing so, he sent a message to Israel. I'm not here to fight, I'm here to show you what I can do for this offensive. Since it's not to go to war, so civilian targets, etc. Iran also said that.
It did, yes.
And Israel ultimately knows that this is true. That is why it is in the care of the U.S. And if the U.S. does not provide this aid, it cannot go anywhere. Therefore, Eastern Mediterranean, if he tried to launch an offensive, aircraft carriers, etc., and then the U.S. will be able. It is also not very clear whether it will actually show up on the other side 100% in real terms. Because while going that distance, if the other side has these systems, it can at least see them and cause damage from this direction with its missile systems. Therefore, America will most likely do this from the south. But when it goes there, there are a lot of ships there, including China and so on. There are oil fields, etc. If the United States comes from there, that's where they came from when helicopters were shot down in the south. It cannot do this easily. Therefore, when we talk about a war, America's absolute superiority is a matter of a grasping warrior. That is to say, I am making a point that my esteemed commander knows much more perfectly, but if he's in a position to do so, if the ground force is deployed and fails to achieve results, even the air in Gaza, which you hit from above, will result in the fact that it will continue to live in one way or another. And for this reason, I personally don't think of it in a very condescending way and say that this is also like this, but in a broader context. Two, Iran, the Shanghai Five, I think their number is 16 now, the Shanghai Five.
What happened to that?
So now the Shanghai Five has not yet reached a NATO-like alliance system.
No, of course, of course. He is rather a signifier.
Despite everything, we should also remind that it is in a position to find support from there. So when you go here, you are supporting a country that is also part of the Shanghai system. Therefore, the issue, we need to see it not only as Iran, but also in this dimension.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, okay, now there's
I
don't have one. There you go.
The fourth one I want.
Please.
Sir, here's the thing. In any case, Iran, here, if it tends to collapse under the influence of the United States to this extent, it's not just Iran.
Okay, laughs. Okay. Okay. Now one...
South Caucasus, Turkey, our Republic, Iraq, etc. And a lot of things, because the war is going to be on our heads.
Make it far away. Yeah, there's a hot development now. A statement from the Dem Party. That there was a family visit to Imrali. We will look at this. The terrorist organization PKK, for a family visit, was on our agenda. Minister of Justice Yilmaz Tunç announced that this visit took place. We will also look at the details of this. It is said Imrali Island Prison, Öcalan with his brother Mehmet Öcalan and his nephew Mehmet Öcalan, and then his brother Polat Yildirim, Ömer Hayri Konar and his brother Ali Konar, and Veysi Aktaş and his sister Sabiha Aslan. Here are those staying in Imrali with Öcalan as part of the Eid visit to the family. Okay, let's underline this.